Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about taking notes. And here's one thing that I want you to know. It does not have to be pretty. It just has to be practical. On that same note, if somebody looks at your notes and says, I cannot read or understand a single thing that you wrote, that's okay. Because these are your notes, not theirs. And I want you to at least try to write it on paper. Now, for some classes, that's just irrational. Maybe you have a huge textbook, you don't want to be carrying around another thing. That's understandable, and if it works for you to take notes on an iPad or a laptop, do it. But I recommend that, especially during the hard classes, you take notes on paper. And that's not just to, make your life a living hell. There are actual studies that show that handwriting any material will help you remember it and learn it better than typing will. So it's actually beneficial if you type things out, if you write things out rather than typing. And one last thing before we get into what to take notes on, and it's very important. Our last big tip before we go into anything else is that you are not writing down everything that a professor says. You cannot do that. You cannot sit here and write a monologue. No. So we are going to go through what you need to do. Okay, so before we go into the modeling, I first want to go over what we need to take notes on. And for this, I would love it if you actually took notes on it. And for this, I'm actually going to write it out with you. So, what to take notes on. So we're going to write down anything that the professor puts on the board. Oh my goodness, Nicky Boo Boo. I don't know if you can hear him, but that's a bad boy. Okay, so in this, we're going to put any words he puts down, any names, any charts that he creates on there. This is where handwriting things comes in real handy, because it's way harder to make a chart on a computer than it is to just scratch it out on a piece of paper. We're also going to put in there any dates that he puts, or she, And the reason that we're going to put all of these things is because they put that there for a reason. And whatever that reason is, we want that in our notes. Maybe it's going to be a test question. Maybe it's going to be something that we're going to build off later on in the semester. We don't know yet, but we have it in our notes just in case. So when we are thinking of professors, just like teachers, leave hints of what questions are going to be on the test all the time. And so anything that he says, this would be a great test question. Or anything to that extent. They would also say, this might be on the test, or I would write this down if I were you. And what I would do is, if they say this, I'm just going to put a big old star right next to that fact, whatever they said. Because then when I go back into my notes, I know that this star means, hey, you should definitely study this. Okay? We're also going to put in this same star category anything that they repeat. I don't know if that's how you spell repetition, but that's what we're going to put. So this is where they say, so-and-so died in 1982. In 1982. That's gonna be on the test. And most likely, whatever they said, correctly, what they said is going to be on the test. So that's another thing that we want to star. Next thing that you're going to put is the general gist of whatever you were going over in class. So if we're talking about feminism and Jane Eyre, we're going to write that down. And what we want to do is we want to describe it. Characterize it. And what I mean by characterize it is say, it will always have this, this, and this. So you're just breaking it into pieces. And then we're also going to put a definition of it. But this definition is going to be in your own words. If the professor says it in their own way, if, somebody says it in their own way, that's fine, and you can write that down. But under it, you're going to do the exact same thing that they did. You're going to define it in a way that makes sense to you. And why do I tell you to do that? Well, that helps you make connections with it. And if you can put a definition of that idea into words, you know that idea. If you can't do that, then you need to ask some questions about it. And also, when you have something in your own words, you are more likely to remember it. So that's really important to remember to put something in your own words. We're also going to put on here the questions that a professor asks. So these are most likely going to be discussion questions, but they're also most likely going to touch on something that is on the test. Professors and teachers don't like to waste time. We just really don't. We are here to give you the material that you need, especially for professors in your major. We have so much material to get through. We're going to give you exactly what you need to know. So writing down the discussion questions is really, really going to help you. And then you're also going to put along the same lines the answer that your class comes up with. And what that does is you have the discussion question and you have what it led to. You have a general gist of what is going on. I do want to add that you are not going to put anything that, somebody in the class that does not know what's going on says. Do not put clueless's answer. we're going to call him Clueless because most likely he is. That's a U, not an L. That's just a waste of time. So don't even try and put it. We're also going to put in here any good points that the people make. Especially if that is your teacher. And, you know, when we think of that, they're going to be the aha moments. They're going to be the, oh yeah, I really want to remember that moments. They're going to be the moments where 2 and 2 clicks. We definitely want to get those down. We also want to put general gist of any PowerPoint that they have or any presentation. I want to make it clear that you are not writing this word by word. You are going to put it in your own words. And as simply as possible. And then the last thing that we want to put is the name of any poem, poet, piece of work, author, short story, document, whatever it is that the teacher references. So I want you to write down whatever the document is, and then you're also going to put general gist of it. Why they referenced it. And why it's important. That will give you everything you need to look over and really make your notes worthy. That's it. When we look at this, it doesn't seem like a lot. But when you're doing it, it's going to seem a lot faster. But this will help you boil through all of the noise that goes on in the class. It'll boil down everything that you need to make sure that you have the best notes that you can have. And so we're actually going to model this. So what I have here is a TED Talk. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go through and kind of go, okay, this is what I would write notes on at this point. I want to make it clear, I've not listened to this TED Talk at all. I don't know what it is about. I know that the name of it is How to Get Your Brain to Focus, and Chris Bailey was the one who gave the talk. But that's it. And there's a reason that I did that. I wanted to go into it the same way that you will go into a lecture. You won't know what to expect. You won't know, I mean, you might have read whatever was assigned for that day, but you're never going to know what they're going to go over in class. So we're going to come at it from that perspective. And I'm going to take notes with you the same way that I would in class. So here we go.